welcome if you're new here, and welcome back if you've been following along to the 8th concession, which is our property in Southern Ontario. My name is Natalie. Well, you might be able to hear from my voice that over the past little while, a virus has moved into our house. It is not COVID, we tested, but a cold nonetheless with a special needs child with a compromised immune system is always a bit of a bigger deal than perhaps in other families. So we've been dealing with that, which is why I haven't been able to put out as many videos as I'd like, because after, nursing her, of course I got sick, because that's what happens to moms. So it's been hard to get the energy to get things done. But time is marching on whether we like it or not. And it's October here on the 8th concession. Now we have been enjoying some unseasonably warm temperatures. It's been lovely, especially because we had such a cold, wet summer. So it's been so nice to have some dry, sunny, warm weather. It was in the 80s, which is really unusual for us, end of September, October. But boy, were we enjoying it. But there's rain forecast for tonight and colder temperatures for this weekend, which here in Canada happens to be our Thanksgiving. We celebrate Thanksgiving in October, I think the second weekend in October. It's early this year. It's typically around the 13th, 14th, but this year it's the 8th, 9th. And they're calling for the possibility of snow. Like, no, I'm not ready for snow. But it did wake me up to the fact that I have got to get this garden out. And even though I don't have to do everything by this weekend, it is time to get those frost-sensitive crops out of there before they get damaged with the colder temperatures that are coming. And even though I'm dragging a little bit from this cold, I've got to start harvesting the last of the crops. Now, luckily, a lot of it is out. I have been working hard. But what is still left in there is the beans and the celery and the bell peppers. Now, I did do the jalapenos. I've done the Hungarian hot wax peppers, but I've left the bell peppers. I think. And then the pumpkins, of course, are still there, but they're fine with the cold weather. In fact, they're not quite ripe yet, so they're okay with frost. I think the celery will be okay too, but I certainly want to get the beans and peppers out of there, so I need to do that today. I want to process the peppers. With the bell peppers, I'm going to chop and freeze some of them, and I think chop and dehydrate some of them. And the beans are already dry, as I mentioned in the... As I've mentioned before, when I planted them, I forgot that I don't have a pressure canner. So I can't actually can my beans. So I let them go longer on the plant than I planned so they would dry out. And I'm just going to store them as dried beans and use them that way. But I do need to pick them and shell them. So let's see, peppers, celery, beans, and the pumpkins I will leave. So today I'm going to start with the beans. Now you will see that I actually did the my goodness, my brain's not even working. The Polish pea beans I actually harvested a day or so ago, but the kidney beans I have not. So kidney beans today and the bell peppers today for sure. And we'll see if I get to the celery, because I don't like to store that a lot before I'm ready to chop and freeze it. I like to do it right away, and I'm not sure I'm going to have time today. But anyway, this garden has to come out. Cold weather's coming. I better get to it. I'm really pleased with this harvest. Now you can see I picked some of them that were still sort of green. I just feel so bad for the plant. They didn't have time to finish them. But maybe we can eat those as they are or freeze them. But these, I think, are going to be perfect just to shell and store in a jar. I see some chili in my future. Now the peppers. But before I move over to the peppers, I do have to show you something. Those of you who were following when I was planting know that in this fourth bed there were some lettuce that self-seeded over the winter. And I kept them and ate them in the spring. And then I had this spot that I just filled with just some random things. One of those being watermelon. Yeah, I planted them in like July. Watermelon struggles to grow in Ontario at the best of times, and especially on a cold, wet summer, it wasn't ideal. But I threw them in the ground anyway for fun. They sprouted, and would you believe I got a watermelon? But just look at this cutie. Is that the cutest thing you've ever seen? I'm actually going to pick it and see if it's ripe inside. Here are the bell peppers. You can see that some of the green ones are already starting to turn red. So we're not too soon in harvesting them. This is the most incredible pepper harvest, sweet pepper, bell pepper that I've ever had. I mean, I can't even remember how few I had before compared to this. And in the package that I grew mixed bell pepper, there was one yellow pepper that came out and a black pepper, but I'm afraid I picked one and then the rest dried. But just look at these peppers. They are picture perfect. I am just so pleased. I actually transferred them into this basket because now I want to pick the Royal Black hot peppers. And in the middle there, I think that's actually a Serrano. That came from a mixed hot pepper seed packet. So you're never quite sure what you get. But the other two I planted purposely. Those are called Royal Black. They're so great in salsa. Craig really likes them. However, we did not get enough tomatoes to make salsa this year. So I'm just going to dehydrate them for some just spicy pepper mix for chilies and soups and stews and such. So I'm going to put them in this smaller basket because the bell peppers didn't even fit. Wow, that is a great crop of hot peppers. The Royal Black back here, some of which were already turning red, that was only 2 plants. And the Serranos, that was 1 plant. Now maybe in another year when I wasn't feeling so run down, I might try and make hot sauce from them. But I think for this year, the quickest and easiest thing for me will be to dehydrate them so Craig can add some spice to whatever meals he likes. I think that's all I'm up to right now. So it's the next day again. I just ran out of steam yesterday. And so today though, just gonna power through. There's no sense doing all this gardening if we waste the produce that comes from it. So first things first, I'm gonna set the dehydrator trays. I forgot that I had picked any of the sweet corn that had actually grown. We didn't even really get a meal off of it. The corn just wasn't happy in the cold, wet ground this year. But there were some ears that developed, so I'm gonna scrape the corn off that and just dehydrate it for the chickens. That's a real treat for them in January, February when the snow's on the ground. So I'm gonna do that, and with the leftover space, I'm gonna start dehydrating some of the hot peppers. And as for the sweet peppers and some of the onions that I actually took the dry skins off the other day after I had been curing them, some of them looked a little bit soft in spots, so I want to actually chop the good parts and freeze them. So freeze the peppers and the onions, dehydrate the hot peppers and the corn, and then shell the kidney beans. But I can do that outside. We actually got a reprieve from all the rain. It's actually some blue sky out there today. It's not as warm as it's been, but I'll still take 18 degrees Celsius over freezing temperatures. So I can actually do the beans outside later. So right now, just gonna power through this and get this done. can probably tell, that took more than one day to do. With the dehydrating time and the freezing time, it took a few days to get it all done. But I am so happy to have all that produce now preserved, either dried or frozen, so that I can use it all year long. I mean, that's the best part about gardening, isn't it? To take that food and to use it. It tastes so much fresher and delicious. So it's a big job done. I only have 2 things left in the garden. One is the celery, which I'm just going to wash, chop, and freeze, so I don't need to show that. And the other are the pumpkins. Now, I was down in the garden today and I could see that the blue pumpkin is still there. It still doesn't look blue. It hasn't changed color. It's still like a dark green. But some of the other pumpkin seeds that I just threw in the ground in desperation because we want some pumpkins for our family pumpkin carving contest. And it got so wild back there, I couldn't actually see if any pumpkins were growing. But I think I counted at least 4 today. They're starting to turn orange so you can see them a little better. And when I pull them out, I'll bring you along to see what was hiding in the back jungle of my garden. But for now, food preservation is done and I can put it in the shelf and in the freezer and enjoy it. I hope you're getting some of your garden produce in and preserved so you can enjoy it all winter long too. Bye for now.